It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. You know, sometimes you read a headline and you're like, okay, this is a clickbait. And this is in Politico, and I go, this definitely is clickbait, because I'm like, really? Here's a headline. An anti-Trump Republican for governor tries to defy gravity in New Jersey's primary. So I was actually thinking to myself, now, is that a euphemism, or is he actually trying to defy gravity? I mean, he's got TDS. Yeah. You know, he's an ally of Chris Christie's, so I mean, he's got major TDS, and I'm like, maybe he thinks he can defy gravity. Look, I can fly, so vote for me.
People are pretty delusional these days.
I know. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
These are the things that go through my head when I read headlines.
Yeah.
Can he really defy gravity? Oh, he's running to the right of his opponents on immigration. Oh, that's why he's defying gravity.
Not that he's floating or anything.
No, not that he's floating, but I had a look to make sure.
Well,
I'm like,
or not that he thinks he's floating.
right.
I can levitate. No, you can't.
This goes back a long time ago. This goes back, this has to be the late 70s. And a guy I grew up with, who was a close friend growing up, was in Boy Scouts with him and everything else. And I'll never forget when we're out someplace, we're at a bar someplace, and he starts talking, and he said, hey, did I tell you that I'm flying now? Like, really? You're taking are you really you're taking what, lessons for private pilot's license? He goes, no, it's actually more hovering. I go, oh, helicopter? He says, no, transcendental meditation.
You mean that band at Christmas?
It's the band at Christmas, transcendental meditation. They're a great band.
Because don't tell me you're hovering, because then I'm going to tell you to shut up.
He said, no, God is my witness. I'm not making this up.
Okay.
He said, I'm hovering. I'm, off the floor like 3 or 4 feet.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
I'm telling you, you talk about being put in a spot from somebody who you knew your whole life, from a kid on.
Yeah.
And he tells you that, and you're like, oh, I remember when I first told him. He said, no. He said, I'm flying. I said, I can't wait to tell my dad, because my dad was a private pilot.
Right. Yeah.
He goes, no, not that kind. Well, I'm hovering. Oh, helicopter. Yeah. Wow. That'd be, I don't know. I'd rather fly a plane than a helicopter. No, not a helicopter. Me. What do you mean you? It was transcendental meditation. I'm hovering off the air. I'm hovering off the ground like 3 feet when I meditate. And I said, can I do some of the drugs you're doing?
Well, I would start with the question, hey, can you do that right now? Because if you can hover, I know this about me. If I could hover, I'd never stop hovering.
Right, and we're in a bar. There's a lot of chicks.
I'd be a hovering fool.
That'll really impress them.
What's Eric doing? He's hovering.
I find you very, very attractive, but that guy over there, he's hovering off the air 3 feet. I think I want him.
Yeah.
Do you remember, I was thinking about this the other day when we were like 18, 19, 20, because we could go to a bar when we were 18, 19, 20. There used to be these bars. Everybody would be packed in like sardines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was viewed as a great time. You're like moving like you you got your drink in your hand and, it's very close to you because you're afraid somebody's going to hit you as you're walking through. I was thinking about that the other day. It's like, that wasn't fun.
No.
It wasn't fun.
Yeah.
It's like, but we would do that on a Friday night. Where are we going to go? Let's go.
Where everybody else goes. Let's go where everybody else goes.
Right. And the one place, I remember the one place was the locker room.
Oh.
And you walk in and you'd be like a sardine.
Yeah. Squeezing room only.
Now, those were they were very, very efficient and productive bartenders because they were able to. You see some bartenders now today, 10 drinks would take them 10 hours. Well, there you go. And these people were. And then there was another one. I'll never forget the one. It was like a cave. It was called Cassidy's. And they had this thing. Did you ever see the 2.5 Men when they would go to Pavlov's, which was the bar they went to, which was Pavlov's, and they'd ring a bell, and everybody would do a shot and bark, go, ruff, 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 ruff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, this was called Freddy's Specials, and they'd spin this wheel, and whenever it would come up, the entire bar, you get those little plastic shots.
Right.
But they did to everybody. Yeah. But it was the same thing. Everybody was like packed in like a sardine.
Right.
I started thinking about my youth and said, we used to do that. That wasn't fun.
Yeah. No.
Would we have done? Here was the question: would we have done that without the alcohol?
Well, no. Who would do that sober?
I was thinking it was something I got to bring up with my buddies because they were a part of it.
Because
remember we used to do that. We used to be like sardines in the bar. We're like, this is great.
Yeah,
no,
because
it isn't.
The squeezing between people was to and from the bar, to and from the bathroom.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah.
I know I'm going to get, I will get it. I know I will get an email on this. I'm saying that because people in Buffalo.
Well, it's funny.
My age would know that.
I'll watch bands doing a live show on YouTube, right? A recorded video of a live show. And I'll look at the people standing around. I'm like, there's a lot of room there. They're not packed in with few exceptions. And people are sitting down. It's like it's totally changed. It's totally changed. I've seen a couple of metal bands, heavy rock bands that have kind of called the audience out. This goes back several years. I think they probably quit doing it. And it's like, you guys aren't even standing up. You're so lame.
They have mellow pits now.
Right. Like napping pits. They're not moshing, they're napping. It's like, okay, over here, they used to have tents in case you overdosed. Now it's, hey, we're going to treat your tendinitis over here. If you have arthritis, go over to the other tent.
It's always funny, though, when I go to the doctor twice a year, and he goes, your liver functions are great. Everything is normal. I go, really? Did you get the right blood work there?
Wait a minute.
There were times in my youth.
I'm going to debate you on this, doctor. That's not mine. You've got somebody else's blood work.
Did I get a liver transplant?
My last name is McNamara. That means Irish. Let's do this again.
It was another disappointing. In my adulthood, the drinking has been cut back tremendously.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember the last time. I think I said it on St. Patrick's Day. I don't remember the last time I had a drink on St. Patrick's Day.
I think playing at venues that sold alcohol actually is what really, I never really liked the taste of alcohol. But I really didn't get into social drinking until my 40s. And so when I was young playing clubs, I would grab a beer. You had to have something in your hand.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But I didn't, I really didn't like drinking because inevitably I would have to drive, but I just wasn't that into alcohol. I would go see live shows. I would go see other bands. But, the idea of just going out and getting hammered. So the social drinking didn't start until I was in my 40s, and by then I was a grandparent, actually.
And responsible.
I won't say that. I'm not going to make that claim.
Yeah,
I don't want to lie to the people.
We wouldn't be the guys anyway. Scotch or bourbon?
Yeah, I don't even know the difference.
Could I have a cinnamon roll?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, it's a 1 part Kahlua, and then a little bit of Bailey's, and then just a little bit of the Fireball whiskey, just to give it that little spicy taste, and then some cream in there.
Well, for me, I mean, if I'm going to drink, I just go straight for tequila. Don't make me I don't even want a margarita. I mean, if I were going to drink, I don't drink anymore. I don't know. I just don't. But if I were going to go out and drink, well, let's do some drinking.
Or for me,
safely and responsibly, no driving.
Or the worst part for me, would you like a drink? What do you have that's low carb?
Yeah.
It's like,
well, it's funny.
If I were the bartender, I'd kick me out of the bar.
Yeah.
What do you have that's low carb? You have something that's really low carb?
Yeah. Well, traveling with a colleague here recently, and we were at this restaurant, and she asked the server, she said, what's that salad that lady over there is eating? The lady goes, no, that's our cheese fries. And I said, I'll have the cheese fry salad, please. It's like, but you always see those drinks, those big drinks that big fruity looking ones.
Oh yeah, the frozen ones. Yeah.
And then they're carried on a tray, like a table of people have gotten together, and then all of a sudden this big tray of very colorful drinks goes by, and you're like, bring that sampler over. You just want to taste. For me, it's not the alcohol.
Yeah.
I like candy. I like sweet things.
No, seriously, that for me, that even as a teenager, when I was 18, 19, 20, it's like, would you like a gin and tonic? Well, I know, unless you want me to regurgitate right here after I, take a sip of that. No, could you give me something that tastes good?
Right.
Bourbon, I said tastes good. Scotch, I said tastes good.
Yeah.
Vodka, I said something with a taste.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I just have to get to the purpose, right, of whatever. Well, the hard sodas. I saw this grape hard soda one time at a grocery store.
So did I.
And as a kid, grape knee-high was the soda of all sodas. And so I bought a 4-pack of this hard soda, and I got home and I popped one open and then realized what I really wanted was some grape soda.
I know.
I didn't want, because it's like, who put this weird taste in my grape soda?
I never bought it, but I saw it.
Yeah.
Because it's
I knew what I was buying.
It is too much sugar in it for me, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, I want that. I went,
no.
Am I an alcoholic or a grape knee-high-holic? I'm not sure.
It's like when you buy the ice cream that has candy bar in it. Well, the candy bars are right there. I can just get ice cream and get my own candy bar. I would spend all night digging out tiny chunks of candy bar.
If they ever have alcoholic cream soda that I was addicted to as a kid, I'm sorry, my life is done.
I bet they do a hard cream soda. They probably do.
Do they do a hard?
I'm guessing.
Don't tell me where I can find it because I'll be drunk every night on the show.
Yeah. But I just and those other 3 grape hard sodas just sat in the fridge because I was like, no.
I'm laughing because when you said that,
grape soda.
When you said that, I had the exact same attraction when I saw that at the grocery store.
Right.
I went and I turned. It was like, I want that, and I didn't buy it. But I was like, am I an alcoholic, or is that a flashback to my youth?
Right. Well, it's like it's the late comedian. I'm blanking on his name, but who had a great line about cinnamon roll scented candles to give your roommates false hopes. Oh, I'm blanking on his name. The long hair and the glasses, but yeah, it was a great line. And again, I had false hopes of having grape soda. You know, I took home I knew what I was buying. I knew I was buying a hard soda. I knew that it was basically, I think it's a malt liquor, whatever. But
yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. And I still got home and it was like, no, what I really wanted.
Mitch
Hedberg, yes. Great line.
He was great.
False hopes. An escalator cannot ever break. It can just become stairs.
Yeah. Why was he so funny?
His delivery.
Yeah, he was great. He was like sort of like this. Didn't do this. He was in the same genre of like a Stephen Wright to me.
Right.
Always.
Yeah.
He was so funny.
No, he was just genuinely funny.
Remember the one night we went through during the commercial breaks? We went through all the commercial breaks.
Yeah.
Or not commercial. Excuse me. During the commercial, we went through all of his lines.
Yeah.
And we were dying laughing. We could hardly do a show that night. I think it was right after he died.
Yeah.
And we were looking at it. We were looking at all the stuff that he did.
Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
5 months into the agricultural trade year, and the latest trade balance, according to USDA, looks like this.
A trade balance of negative $16.2 billion, which is $12 billion less than the negative $4.2 billion deficit of last year.
Economist Mark Kenner says regarding export and import numbers for the first 5 months of the current fiscal year,
agricultural exports for fiscal year to date through February 2025 were $77.6 billion, which is down 1% from the previous year. Agricultural imports were $93.8 billion, up 13% from the same time last year.
Month-over-month changes include exports down 1% and ag imports down 14% from the previous month.
If you're looking at the trade balance, yes, that is an improvement closer to the neutral zone as opposed to getting farther negative just from month to month.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, Trump's border czar says Congress is taking too long to pass border funding. All depends on what happens this week. As we said, they want to have a vote. They leave Thursday, so you really have tomorrow, and that's it to pass a vote. And it seems as if right now they don't have the votes in the House to pass the current Senate bill. So we'll get to a little bit of that. And that's what Tom Homan is saying. We need money. We need to be arresting more people. We can't do that. We need the funding. We need it now. So we'll get to that. Plus, AOC flew first class. Oh, my gosh. So much of this is so hilarious. She flew first class to Bernie Sanders' fight oligarchy. Okay, so that's just so funny. And we'll take a look because what I can see right now, all the Asian markets are up. All the European markets are up.
Yep.
All the future markets here in the United States are up. So we'll go through that coming up here. There is a hope for optimism is what I'm calling it.
Yeah.
I won't say optimism. There is a hope for optimism.
Well, I'll frame it the way they do on Capitol Hill. They're hoping for the framework of optimism.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. So we're going to play this audio cut. Rand Paul yesterday in the Senate. Rand Paul, before we get to the audio cut, it was really fascinating yesterday because I missed it yesterday. I was swamped yesterday doing a bunch of different things. Mm-hmm. I missed the Rand Paul speech that he had where he came out against the tariffs. Yep. One of the major reasons he said, we cannot continue to live in an emergency state in this country. Congress has to take, its responsibility and its obligation under the three branches of government. We cannot, basically his point is we can't shift this over to the executive branch. We just can't do it.
Right.
A friend of mine texted me and he said, since when is Rand Paul, anti-tariff? And I went, oh. And I said, he's always been.
Yeah.
And I didn't get into an explanation, but I was thinking to myself, is that still sticking around that when people hear Rand Paul or Ron Paul, they think that because that they were against, for example, managed trade, that they were against NAFTA, that people believed that they were against those free trade agreements because they were against free trade.
Yeah.
When the reality is they thought that NAFTA, they looked at NAFTA the opposite the way that a Peter Navarro would look at NAFTA.
Right.
I remember Ron Paul saying he thinks that you should be able to trade with whoever you want anywhere in the world at any time without any regulations at all from the government.
Unmanaged free trade.
Right. And he thought it was managed. He goes, I don't want managed free trade. And it got to the point where we could not believe, we were blown away by how many Ron Paul supporters had no idea that the candidate that they fully supported completely had the opposite view that they had when it came to free trade.
And with most of them, that was one of the first, if not the first item they mentioned about him.
And then they got angry as if we were lying to them. It's like, no, we're not.
It's on his website.
It's on his go.
It was when he was running for president. Yeah. So
that was a bizarre time. Mm-hmm. So I just thought it was interesting, and I wondered. I'll have to ask my friend. Were you saying that because you thought because of Ron Paul? Because he seemed surprised. I'm like, who could be surprised that Rand Paul,
right,
is against tariffs? But here's what went on yesterday in the Senate chambers with Rand Paul.
I am a Republican. I am a supporter of Donald Trump. But this is a bipartisan problem. I don't care if the president is a Republican or a Democrat. I don't want to live under emergency rule. I don't want to live where my representatives cannot speak for me and have a check and balance on power. One person can make a mistake. And guess what? Tariffs are a terrible mistake. They don't work. They will lead to higher prices. They are a tax, and they have historically been bad for our economy. But even if this were something that was magic and was going to be a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, I wouldn't want to live under emergency rule. I would want to live in a constitutional republic where there are checks and balances against the excesses of both sides, right or left.
The only point I would have against Rand Paul there is Congress ceded the power. I know he's trying to get it back, but you ceded the power to him. We know there's that one lawsuit. We'll see how that goes from that one conservative organization saying this isn't an emergency. And their point is we've had a trade deficit for half a century.
Right. It's not an acute situation that came about, over the last year or couple of years. It's been going on for a while.
Right. And so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. All right, a couple of other news here. From the New York Post. I just love the way they wrote this. Socialist Representative Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez was photographed flying first class to a Bernie Sanders event last month, with critics saying it shows how she battles inequality one mimosa at a time.
I love that line.
I know we got to store that one, don't we?
Yeah.
use that around New Year's. A passenger snapped AOC getting comfy in the roomy first-class cabin of JetBlue Flight 511 on March 19th that departed from JFK in Queens for Las Vegas, where she spoke at a Sanders rally titled Fighting Oligarchy. The next day, the equality spouting darling of the far left.
Seriously, sitting in that newsroom would be just as entertaining as sitting around with the Babylon Bee.
I know.
When they're writing.
Of the far left, headlined Fighting Oligarchy, rallied along with her socialist comrade, Senator Sanders of Vermont, in North Vegas and at Arizona State University in Tempe, Arizona.
Yeah.
The flyer who took the photo told the New York Post, "Nothing says power to the people like ignoring voters looking to say hello and reclining in first class while tweeting about income inequality," claiming that AOC did not respond to any friendly comments once she sat down. Mm-hmm. AOC is fighting the system one first-class mimosa at a time, said the passenger, Tracy, who was from Brooklyn and sitting in the economy cabin where the cattle sit, right? The congresswoman, whose 14th district includes parts of the Bronx and Queens, is seen in the photograph leaning over in her seat, appearing to grab or look at something. A man is sitting next to her. Wow. A first-class JetBlue seat on the same route, weekday, and a time later on this month cost upwards of $1,100. First-class seats on planes. See, I didn't know this. First-class seats on planes also have been widely criticized by climate change activists because they typically produce many more times the carbon emissions of economy seats since they take up more room. I should have thought of that. Yes.
We didn't do our environmentalist math.
No, I didn't. I did not do my environmentalist due diligence.
Yeah,
on
I didn't put that together.
Since
remember
what?
Remember John Kerry, the country's first climate czar. Someone like me can't be expected to fly commercial. He wouldn't even fly commercial. Remember that? So, the left has got a long history of not walking the walk. Even Leonardo. Yeah, he'll drive an EV on the ground, but he's got a private jet.
Wow. Some New York politicians said the traveling by AOC, a rabid climate change protester, is just the latest example of hypocrisy from the left. Said one, socialists are hypocrites. I'm surprised she didn't take a private jet.
Yeah,
like most of her comrades.
Right, yeah.
State Conservative Party Chairman Gerald Kasser of New York, the State Conservative Party, which is one person in New York, said
it's just him.
AOC was showing just how much she's out of touch with her principles.
Yeah.
AOC's campaign and district office declined to comment.
Of course. Because they had their noise-canceling earbuds in when you called. That's why.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it is so laughable.
Speaking in National Review, White House border Tom Czar has expressed frustration with the pace of the administration's deportation efforts. I'm not happy with the number of ICE arrests carried out so far. Let me rephrase. I'm happy that we got the arrests we have, but I want more. He's acknowledged that success of his efforts to deport illegal immigrants will in many ways hinge on how much money Congress appropriates for border security in this year's mammoth budget reconciliation bill. He's saying it is too long. It's just too long that we've been waiting for border funding. So if they don't get it, we talked about this, if they don't get it passed today, then it's 2-week delay because They were off for a week because of the proxy bill.
Yeah,
which
that
Mike
shut
Johnson
everything down last week. Yeah.
Which he won that one, though.
Right,
I just wonder why Representative Luna has been completely quiet on that since yesterday. Completely. Not a peep. And Trump came out in favor of it. That was the thing.
Right.
Remember, Trump came out
in
favor of it. And so Johnson won that one. And then they're gone for 2 weeks. So they won't be back till really almost the end of April. And Trump wants this thing in now. He needs something, because if they can get this in, then he can say, okay, we got the framework for the pro-growth. It's passed both houses. And one thing they need right now is something that is pro-growth.
Yeah, right.
They really do.
Right.
I mean, they need to get that. They need to get that in there. They can't let this sit and lie. One of the, I think, best points that was made, if it doesn't pass now, it's not going to pass in 2 weeks.
Right.
You can't bring the same bill back in 2 weeks.
Right.
You've got to bring in more spending cuts, and the Republicans don't want to do it. And we've already put the political problem. There's tons of political problems here. From the president yesterday. I mean, Republicans were saying, President said this could take 2 years. Before we get the whole tariff thing done. 2 years before we get all these deals. These tariffs are going to be on. But he won't have a house if it continues that way. And then you've got even like the Wall Street Journal that is not necessarily pro-tariff at all, that is screaming to get these pro-growth tax cuts in there.
Right.
In their editorial from yesterday, saying they've got to do it. They've got to get it done. And so there's the substance of it, which is we need to get the economy going, but there's also the politics of it, because everyone's going. In Congress, we quoted a couple of people in Congress going tick, 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 tick. And that's because if we don't get this thing done, we did things that were, the president's done things that are degrowth right now. They're not pro-growth. That's what was part of the criticism. He should have done the pro-growth stuff now and the other stuff later on, but it is what it is. But if you don't get it done and prices are still high,
you're going to have a problem.
And the economy is bad, you lose the midterms.
Yep.
Because it's the only issue now, and it's interesting how many people have basically mirrored what we said a few weeks ago. What you got to understand is the illegal immigration thing is over. That's done.
Yep.
Trump solved it so quick, it's no longer an issue. When it's not an issue, you can't promote it anymore.
Now everything is the economy.
Everything's the economy. Everything. And when you're saying long term, that's scaring the daylights out of Republicans, saying, what do you mean long term? What do you mean 2 years?
Well,
we can't wait 2 years.
And when you got members of your cabinet and advisors saying, oh, yeah, well, a recession wouldn't be bad. What?
And I know we read that piece by Art Laffer, and who did the Laffer curve, and Steve Moore, who was part of the first Trump administration economic advisor, where they're saying, look, he should do a speech and say, we're going to gather all of our trading partners together, except maybe China, and we're going to talk about just reducing all tariffs. He did that in Canada with the G8 a few years ago.
Right.
It's like, do that again, promote that I am the person, the economy will boom, you'll be great. Our point was to them, though, and they wrote this late yesterday, was that there is no indication. That would be great if he did that. But that's not going to happen because it doesn't solve the problem to Trump. And they seem to not either know it or pay attention to it. The problem with what they promoted is Trump doesn't care about the unfair tariffs.
It's trade imbalance.
It's a trade imbalance.
Yep.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, looking at the stock market futures, everything is up. and up significantly in the pre-markets for the United States. But everything's up in Europe. Everything's up in Asia, including China.
Yeah.
So Shanghai is up, which is the biggest stock market there. And
it's believed. I mean, if you look right now with Asia, the Nikkei is up over in terms of making the most gains. The Nikkei. So Japan, it's believed again, if the Treasury Secretary is going to be in charge of the negotiations there's great confidence. I don't know if they fully believe one's going to happen, an agreement's going to happen, but there's great confidence that it's going to move in that direction, and that's what you're seeing in the markets globally.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.